So let's start off with the changes that came in version 6. So the first one was some changes with color. Okay, so the first one is this reset panel when changing effects. These have been added to several of the panels, and it really reflects this issue that we have where sometimes unexpectedly as you drop effects on, certain settings follow it. So let's turn it off, which is how it has always been in the past. And let's go and quickly drop, I don't know, it would help if we get to our matrix because it's easier to see. Okay, let's drop a color wash on, our matrix, and let's turn some sparkles on. And then if we were to go up and, I don't know, drop a fire effect on by default, the sparkles would carry forward. And sometimes that's what you want it to do, but sometimes it isn't. And so you now have this ability here to tell it to disable them. So if you go and drop another fire effect, the sparkles will remain on. But if I was to go up here and now drop another color wash because I've currently got the fire effect, you'll notice the sparkles didn't come forward, which is generally speaking what you want. Now, this doesn't impact on the colors. The colors do come forward, and you obviously have the ability to bulk update the colors using the update button. So it's just a way to manage all the settings carrying forward from effect to effect, and you ending up with surprising things like, you know, your brightness carried forward when you really didn't want to carry it forward. So that's that one. The HSV adjustment. The best way to look at this is something like the video effect. So if I plonk a video effect down here and I go and find a video, which I have a few of. Let's find something like this explosion here, or it's not an explosion, but anyway. So what these adjustments here allow you to do, and these get applied after everything's been rendered, it lets me go and do things like color shift my video. So now my video's pinks rather than yellows. We'll change the duration to loop. I can also do things like change the value down, which will dim it. But I can also change the hue using a value curve. So over the course of the video, the color changes. And the saturation changes just how bright and vivid the colors are. So moving it towards the right increases it. To the left will have a tendency to take the colors out, and so it'll turn it more into pastels as it goes. So it gives you that option to take something like typically a picture effect, or a Glediator effect is probably the most useful place where you could apply this. But you can apply it on anything. It introduces some sort of interesting behaviors. So if you were to, that was interesting. So if you were to change the hue on the color effect, despite the fact that this is obviously still red and white, the colors are now shifted, and so you end up with a very different color. So it's a little bit confusing, but I wouldn't use it there. I would generally use it on something like a video effect or something like that. Add a scale but keep ratio. So on the picture effect, so let's drop a picture effect. Here it is. And let's pick an image. Let's pick, I don't know, a reindeer. Okay, that's the image by default. In the past, you could click a checkbox to scale it to fit, and it does this, where it stretches it all out. Now there is a new mode which scales but keeps the aspect ratio. So it makes it as large as it can make it without distorting the image at all. And of course, you could do all the usual movements and everything else on the effect. And duration treatments to the Glediator effect. Okay, so let's go and drop a Glediator effect on. So the Glediator effects I've got here, I think, are 15 seconds long. And normally it would just play at the frame rate of the Glediator effect, but you can now slow and accelerate it where it will adjust the speed so the entire Glediator effect fits within the duration. So if you make the duration shorter, it speeds it up. You make it longer and it slows it down. And if you put it into loop mode, if it happens to be longer than the duration of the effect, it will loop back around and start the Glediator effect again. So it just gives you a little bit more flexibility when you're dropping the Glediator effect, and it's now behaving much more like the movie effect does with duration. And that's it, just a couple of bugs. So not much in this release. 2017.7, I'm hoping we will finally get our 64-bit version of Vamp out. Sorry, of XLights out. I got the Vamp stuff working yesterday, so assuming it stays stable, it's probably not going to be the most stable. I've definitely noticed that it's not always as stable as it could be, so it's probably going to be a little bit rough for a while, but we'll get there. Oh, sorry, there's a couple other things here. Sorry, I looked at the carriage return there and missed it. The Pinwheel, I did add. Oh. So the Pinwheel you'd all be familiar with. So there's a couple of things I did. I tried to demo last week the color gradients on the Pinwheel, and I got myself into all sorts of trouble. That's another thing that's changed. Now when you right click and bring up a color curve, if there's no color curve defined, it will inherit the color of the button that you are on. Just one less thing you have to change. So if we now, I tried to do this last week and it didn't work, and the reason it didn't work in one of the demos was because I was using the old render method and that didn't support these color gradients, and so that's now been added in. And along the way I also came up with this sweep style which provides a sort of almost a propeller-like view, which is slightly different on the Pinwheel, where it just fades over the span of the blade. And I think that's it. Yep, they're the other two enhancements.